basic question, but you can go philosophical on me. How are things?
Uh, how are things? Things are improving. How's that? Not in the Steven Pinker sense of the word, where we're always making progress and we are getting better. Things are improving because the day is surely drawing near. How about that?
Okay, that's good. So when we talk about this, if you're gonna put things in these terms, you're pretty optimistic, right?
I am. Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And is that just because you can't afford psychologically to be pessimistic?
Yes, I think that's certainly part of it. What would I say? I mean, I think the Bible does not permit you to be pessimistic. It does not allow it, right? So I was thinking about Advent. I was working on Advent with the cantor here just a moment ago, and talking about the themes for the Sundays of Advent. And you get judgment on Advent too, right? You get Luke 21. But the theme for the day, as far as I'm concerned, um, lift up your heads. When you see these signs, lift up your heads, for salvation is drawing near. It's like they're you're surrounded on every side. They've got the battering rams knocking down the door, and you get to sit back and be like, awesome, can't wait.
Well, that's awesome. Would you agree then with this that things are always better than they seem while simultaneously being worse than they seem?
I That's good. I agree. That reminds me of, remember we had this brief conversation about the difference between comedy and tragedy, according to the Greeks. The comic portrays things as better than they actually are, and the tragic portrays things as worse than they actually are, maybe, or the other way around. I can't remember. But in any case, you can. The fact is that things are a certain way, worse than you imagine and better than you imagine. That's the fact.
Yeah, so like you're right. Things are really great. Now, if you asked most people that question, so here's why your answer really sticks out is most people would say things are rough.
Hmm.
And it's always been that way, hasn't it? So like 2008, you ask people, how are things going? The economy's terrible. Turn of the century, how are things going? My portfolio just crashed because of the dot-com burst. You ask people back in the 40s, how are things going? Well, I got gas ration. I mean, it just seems like you could pick something bad from every single time period. And yet, when we look back on those time periods, it seems like it's the golden age, doesn't it? Like, how fun would it be to go back to the year 2000?
Yeah, that would be fun. Those were great times. I mean, is Dickens right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. He must be. Yeah, always in every age. I was thinking about even the kind of like the large scale things. People are concerned about education, the state of our educational system, and that's fair, right? Things don't seem to be getting better, but like the Lutherans were complaining about state education, public education, 100 years ago. So it's like, what would we expect? And maybe that's part of it, right? So if you this is again my friend Bruce Timm, the Church of Low Expectations, right? If you understand that your work, like you're living on a slope, then the incline doesn't really surprise you, and that's okay. It's just the way things are.
Yeah, that's that's great. And there's always room to improve them, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You learn when you have a chance to lament something. Um, now you know now you know for sure what good would be. Right now you can aim at it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of lament, I mean, Lamentations, one of the most depressing, pessimistic books you could say in the Bible, and yet smack dab there in the middle, in chapter 3, we get, "Your mercies are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord." I mean, so it's only in the midst of tragedy that you can actually have your wits about you and have a good laughter.
So so that seems to be understood or thought of as a kind of a universal principle, right? So it never shines more. Never the sun never shines more brightly than after a thunderstorm, right? And I wonder about this because we were not designed to experience tragedy. it's true that joy is more poignant on the heels of tragedy, but that seems to be, tell me what you think about that. In what way is how about this, the cycle of fasting and feasting, in what way is that design, and in what way is that corruption?
Well, we definitely get it from God. So Old Testament, Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, that's a fast. And that's the only fast prescribed in the Old Testament. But God does prescribe it. So it is kind of funny with the parable of the tax collector and the Pharisees. What does the Pharisee say? He fasts, is it twice a week?
Twice a week, yeah.
So twice a week. So he fasts more than 100 times a year, while there's only one prescribed fast in the Old Testament. Now, you can voluntarily fast more than that. That's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Jesus fasts for 40 days straight. Moses and Elijah do. But I do think there is something instructive about the fact that you've got one day of fasting, but then you've got 3 major feast days. So, and we kind of have this in our church here. So our fast season is Lent, which is 40 days. You don't include the Sundays. So, 46 days. Regardless, though, however you count it, Easter is 50 days. And that's because of Pentecost, obviously, but notably it's more.
Could you say that a fast is grievous to us? It only feels burdensome because of our flesh. I mean, it mortifies our flesh. But for instance, the fast from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil should not have been a burdensome fast. After all, there's plenty of other fruit that you can eat, right?
Yeah, that's good. So if you want to use it in those terms, because after the fall, fasting becomes a sign of repentance. But
right.
before the fall, if you're going to fast, meaning avoid something, and I've heard people argue about this, were they fasting from it or what? But I think that's a good way of looking at it, because I do believe eventually they were going to eat of it because it was a good tree. So yeah, that's right. It's a corruption because of our sinful flesh. If you think about the things you fast from, usually it's things that aren't very good for you in the first place. So I'm gonna fast from candy. Okay, maybe, and you're gonna find you're gonna feel better anyways.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe that I always poo-poo the health, like don't fast for health reasons. Don't use this as a diet. But maybe it's actually maybe that is part of the lesson.
Yeah, no, that's right. Now the reason I asked the question is, how are things? Genesis 24 starts off the chapter by saying Abraham was blessed in all things by the Lord. And I mean, contemplating Abraham's life, and Christians should do this. I mean, you look at Hebrews 11, where he's going through all those characters of faith. Abraham, by far, is the most discussed person in that list. And think about his life. I mean, he goes from being a nobody to God calling him, to telling him, through you all the nations of the world will be blessed. It's called to sacrifice his son. I mean, he's one of the richest guys in the Old Testament, and yet he also has the most faith in the Old Testament, it seems like.
Yeah, right. I mean, isn't that the case that the external things are often they confuse us, because sometimes they correspond to blessedness and sometimes they do not, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about that briefly. So we poo-poo the prosperity gospel, and rightly so, because it is a perversion. But there also is this sense that if you do the right things in life, there's going to be temporal blessings.
Yes, and I think there's two ways. There's 2 ways about that. One of the components of that temporal blessing is simply that trusting in God for your daily bread, He will provide, right? So you won't be wanting. And the Psalms are great on this. It's like, I've never seen the righteous man begging bread, David says. I've lived many years and I've never seen the righteous man begging for bread. And there's another Psalm 112 that talks about how the generous man is never lacking in anything, right? Because the Lord provides his daily bread. So on the one hand, God promises that. But also, as St. Paul points out, God also gives you contentment, right? With clothing and food, with these we will be content, which isn't that more than all the riches in the world, right? This is what the Psalms or the Proverbs are talking about. A quiet meal in peace is better than feasting with strife. So what is it? It's our gauges are off. And so our way, the problem with the prosperity gospel is that it's assessing the wrong thing. It's measuring kind of absolute quantities as opposed to quality, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, so contentment really is the key. Because think about our period. Have we ever had as much money and wealth and access to everything than we do right now? I mean, we're the richest people who have ever existed, and yet how happy are we?
We have next day Amazon delivery where we live here in Little Rock. I've had to have a few conversations with my children about how this is immediately spoiling them. 'Cause-
I mean it's incredible, isn't it? You just go
yeah,
online,
yeah,
and I love it. I mean, most things here in St. Cloud are 2 days, and I kind of get peeved when I have to wait a week
right,
for something.
right.
I'm like, and yet we're like total trust fund babies. We've been handed absolutely everything, and then as this first moment that things go a little bit awry, we're like, oh no, world's ending, church is gonna end, nobody cares about the gospel anymore. Where'd you get that idea from? I think we're doing just fine.
That's exactly right, man. And we have lived. I often think about people who have come from war torn places, or people who have a living memory of uh, brothers being shipped off to Vietnam or even in World War II. And the vast majority of us have nothing even coming close to approximating that experience at this point in our history. And those things do teach you. I mean, I don't, God forbid that we suffer in such a way. Um, but they do, but they are a lesson. They do teach you. They teach you some things you can't learn otherwise, really, you know?
Right. Yeah. So that's what you're trying to pass on to your children, is that discipline and that wisdom that can only happen through trial.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So Abraham blessed in all these things. Now it's interesting because, of course, that comes immediately after the observation. He was old and well advanced in years, right? So he's not counting his old age. God's not counting his old age as a curse here, right? It's blessed in all things, including that he's reached this ripe old age. Um, but it's the continuation of the problem that he saw before. Behold, you've made me this promise, but I have no heir, and Eliezer of Damascus is the heir in my house. Well, now he's got Isaac, but no grandchildren, right?
Yeah. Do you want to comment on this idea that you turn 65 and then you retire and then you stop doing anything?
It's from the devil. How about that? That's where that idea comes from.
Okay. Well, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Well, and how miserable is that to just stop doing anything?
Yeah, so we were meant for activity, meant for work, in fact, and so I mean, here's the thing: is like you should scale things with your capacities, right? So they served in the sanctuary until they were 50 years old, and then they didn't go and just sit around all day long. Your capacities change, and Paul gives a good example of this one in First Timothy. Or Titus. He gives instructions to the older men, right? The older men are busy training up the younger men. Likewise, the older women, right? And the way that you train up the next generation is by doing things for them to observe, right? You lead them by example, um, and that kind of activity is essential because sloth begets sloth, right? So that eventually, I mean, this is the other great description in Proverbs, is the lazy man who eventually reaches a point where he reaches out his hand to the dish and can't even bring it back to his mouth. I love it so much. But isn't that how people become when they give themselves over to inactivity? That is what happens, right? They just like, what's the point in doing anything anymore?
You're right. Yeah, I find this one. I don't eat a lot of sweets, but then one day if I start eating the M&Ms, it's pretty hard to stop. So it's the same thing with like laziness. Like if I'm not doing something all day, then that whole day is it's gonna be so hard to do one thing. But if you get up in the morning and you make your bed and go work out, then you start doing things. You're working in the field. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, quick on Abraham and faithfulness. So would you say the key to life then is just simply receiving what God's going to give you, good and bad?
Yeah, and maybe I would add to it, receiving good and bad from God and doing with it what God intends you to do, right? I mean, this is the thing from Ecclesiastes I can't remember how he puts it, but it's nothing better than to do your work and receive the benefits of your work. I can't remember how he says it.
Yeah, good. I love Ecclesiastes.
Because I think that you can say, we've talked about gospel reductionism before. You could say that the pure reception it's not an adequate description because um, uh, you could become the man who buries the talent if you just receive it. You also need to do with it what God intends.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. When I used the word receive, I meant like a fuller understanding of that.
Including his command. He received his command. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Rather than just sitting on it, which of course is very very foolish. You
I think that's a helpful paradigm to put it that way, because I perceive in myself, as I grow older. I think what are like the common uh, instincts, traits, behaviors, realizations, let's say, that lead a man to a midlife crisis. Like I think maybe we've talked about this before. I'm not saying I'm on the verge of a midlife crisis, but I can see how if you don't have a sense of confidence about what you're doing and why it matters, eventually you will start spinning out. That futility really can get the better of you.
What's your midlife crisis car?
Um, I think a Porsche would be, if I could dream. I just like I like compact, and I like the design. I like the novel design of a Boxster. You know.
Ooh, that's pretty sweet. I
Yeah. How about you?
I think a Corvette.
Okay.
I think it just screams the American midlife crisis dream.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I think candy red. I mean, I'm not like it's kind of functional. I mean, I would have said a Ferrari 10 years ago probably, but a Corvette is unattainable for me, but it's a little more attainable. Like if things go really really well for me, like there's a 1% chance of me getting a Corvette. There
there's
is
a
like
chance.
a 0.1% chance of me ever getting a Ferrari.
For any of Josh's members that are listening, uh, just take notes right now. When he hits his 10-year ordination anniversary, it's time to step it up.
I hear stories of guys getting like people will give them pontoons for their retirement. It's
Yeah.
like it's great, good. It's the pastor
Now
pontoon.
I used to joke about, my example for the different kinds of prayers that you can say. You can pray for things that God has promised, and you don't have to say "Thy will be done" because He promised it, right? You insist that He give it to you. You could pray for things that you know that God doesn't want to give you, and you shouldn't do that. But then there's all the things that you think would be good for you, and you pray for them, and you say "Thy will be done." And my example is always a car. I would say Lamborghini just because it was a fancier word than Porsche. So after Bible class one day, a guy walks up to me and hands me a Matchbox car. He's like, "Here you go. Your prayer was answered." I was like, "Thanks, man."
That's awesome on like 10 levels.
Yeah, I know. It was well received gift is what it was.
Was it yellow?
I can't. I think it's orange. I've got it around here somewhere. I've held it dear. It's a valuable gift to me. So
Okay, you'll have to show it to me sometime. You want to talk about this hand under the thigh?
sure. Yeah, I was thinking about this. Why? Because I'm going to teach on Luke 8 in a minute, and you've got the woman with the flow of blood, which connects to all of the Old Testament laws about cleanness and uncleanness, and the proximity to death, things having to do with life and death, really seems to be operative in a lot of what's going on in the Old Testament. Cleanness and uncleanness. So you've got things that have to do with the beginning of life, like bodily fluids of various kinds, and things pertaining to the end of life, like actual physical death, bodies decomposing, and leprosy, which makes you look like you are dead. Okay, so in this case, the the manner of making the oath it has proximity to um, the seat of new life, which is very much connected to like circumcision as well, right? There, the sign of the covenant is connected to the organ that produces life. Put your hand under my thigh means I want you to swear by my future in all of its biological reality, right?
Yeah, it's a very graphic and kind of uncomfortable way of depicting how the seed gets passed on. Think about the exposure that Abraham is opening himself up to here. Because
Yeah.
if this guy was not trustworthy, this guy could hurt Abraham in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, same thing with circumcision, right? In a sense, like you're actually entrusting yourself over to somebody else's precision when you undergo circumcision.
Yeah. Somebody sent me, a dear listener sent me an SNL skit. Well, I don't know if it aired or not, of a fake car ad where they wanted to advertise the smoothness of the ride. I think it was a Cadillac, and it was like so smooth that even a rabbi could perform circumcisions in it.
Oh man.
It was it was great. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of trust. Now I'm thinking of biblical anatomy. So the circumcision, we've had that in Genesis, so that deals with the male regenerative organ. Now you've got the thigh. The hip is coming up later with Jacob, and that's when he's going to wrestle God, and God's going to displace his hip. And of course, Jacob's name means heel, and the heel's really important with the promise in Genesis 3 that the seed would crush the serpent's head with his and his heel would be bruised. So it's kind of like God is building up a human.
Yeah,
Right?
that's good.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I was trying to think of like other, if we could get to the upper body in the Old Testament, because certainly it happens in the New, but
Well,
go
I
ahead.
mean, you get the pulling out Adam's rib or Eve coming out of his side,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
towards the upper body. Um, uh, I mean, the importance of your head becomes clear when it's like a lot of stuff comes out in Exodus and Leviticus. So big toes, big, your thumb and your head become
Mhm.
really important. So it's
Oh,
like, I
sure.
mean,
So
the top, the capstone of the thing comes later, right?
that's right. Yeah, so it's kind of like building from the bottom up. Because if you start with the heel, yeah, yeah. So yeah, the priest gets when he got ordained, the blood of the ram would be put on his ear,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
And if you were a servant who was being released and you wanted to remain with your master, they'd poke a hole through your ear with an awl in the doorpost, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think both of those Old Testament texts are instructive when Jesus heals the deaf man, and the Greek word is I think it's ekbalo. If it's not ekbalo, it's balo. Either way, he threw his finger into this guy's ear, so very aggressive. But
That's
it's
good.
kind of like he's piercing his ear to be open to Jesus being his master, and to hear the word of God, just like the priest.
I'm going to write that down because I'm preaching on Mark 7 this coming Sunday for Trinity 12.
Oh,
That's
okay,
good.
great,
Thank you
great. Go
very
ahead.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, both of those, the ear. I mean, he's claiming the guy as his own.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's noteworthy too, like that the claim is of the ear, right? Because there's that great Greek semantic range where it's akuo and hypakuo, so hearing and obeying are
Mhm.
intimately connected in that way. Um, I was going over with the kids this morning, the early childhood kids this morning about using your senses in church. So you start with your ears, but then you also use your eyes, right? So they were looking around at all the crosses in the room, and you also use your mouth to sing and speak God's praises. Um, these things are not incidental. I'm glad you made this observation because the design of the human being is from God, right? It's like you knit me together in my mother's womb. Right? Before you knew me in the inmost parts, and then what is it in Isaiah in one of the Psalms, maybe Psalm 84? Did not he who formed the does not he who formed the ear, does he not hear? And
Yeah,
he who formed the eyes, does he not see? Right?
yeah, and that's kind of in a mocking way because we pretend that God can't hear or see what's going on.
Right, and then of course you contrast it with the idols who have eyes but do not see and ears but do not hear. Right, so it's so good, it's so rich. God is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got some good. Yeah, he's got some good jokes. But the design of the human body is just so. This would be like a very natural theology. I am a little bit uninformed on this. I know John Paul II did quite a bit of work on the theology of the body. So I'm wondering if any of this kind of comes out because you can tell if God designed our bodies, you're going to be able to tell something about God based on the body. Then it's not going to be salvific, of course, but
I mean, it's making me think about all the variety of paradigms. So James Jordan, Peter Leithart, their take on like Genesis is God's building a house, right? And you've got this 3-storied house that recurs again and again. You've got it in creation, you've got it in the flood, you've got it in the temple, you've got it in the land, all of these things. But I would be really fun to take all of the references to bodies, or maybe to draw the connection between a house and what doesn't Paul say that, right?
Yeah,
we put off this dwelling, right?
Yeah, well, it's clear when he calls us the temple of the Holy Spirit, and I mean, laying the foundation. So like the body of Christ, like it's all connected, the body and the building.
So where is the Holy of Holies for the human body? What's the Holy of Holies?
Great. So I would take the trichotomist view of what a human being is. So you've got 3 parts: body, soul, and spirit. And the spirit would be the Holy of Holies.
Okay. Can you explain why?
Yeah.
And clarify for me the distinction between soul and spirit.
Yeah, sure. So I get this from Luther, and this is his commentary on the Magnificat. So if you want to go check it out in the American edition of Luther's works, it's fabulous. So Magnificat, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. So you got soul and spirit there, and then Luther goes on this wonderful tangent. Of course, this is happening kind of in the context of the temple, Luke 1 and 2. The temple is constantly in frame. So then he uses the temple as a model for the human being. So he goes, just as there's 3 parts of the temple: outer court, holy place, most holy place, 3 parts of the human being. And of course, the Sedes Doctrinae for that would be 1 Thessalonians 5, where Paul says body, soul, and spirit explicitly. Now, what's notable is that holy place and most holy place go together. So it's still off limits for most people. But there is a distinction. So if you want to say we're just 2 parts, body and soul, okay, that's fine, but you can make a further division as well. So outer court is the body, and everybody was allowed there in the Old Testament. So this is often called the court of the women, and this is visible. Everybody can see what's going on. Jesus cleanses this when he cleanses the temple. This is where the merchants are hanging out. Holy place, that would be the soul. And so what Luther says is there's lights. That's where the lampstands are in the holy place. And so what he says is that's reason. That's the rationale.
Intellectual faculties.
Intellectual, yeah. So when you're like talking to yourself, you're doing reason, you're doing math, reasonable things that you can see. That's the soul. And then the spirit, the most holy place, there's no lights there. So it's dark. In fact, it's the glory of the Lord that's the light in there. And so if you're not a Christian, there is going to be no light. But then when you're baptized, the Spirit of God enters you into your most holy place, and that becomes living and vibrant. And so that's where faith is. And of course we walk by faith, not by sight. So you can't see these things, and yet you grasp them in your innermost being.
Yeah, that's good. I was thinking about Paul in 1 Corinthians 2, and who knows a person's thoughts except the spirit of that person. And thoughts is something at a higher level than reasoning, right? Because like in some sense you can see reasoning unfold. You can see the calculation play out, but there's something more essential, something that animates you, and who can see that except for the spirit of that person, right? Who knows the mind of God except for the one who has come into the hilasterion, to the mercy seat, and seen the blood of Christ poured out for sinners. I mean, it's yeah.
And then it gets more complicated because of sin. So then he introduces the flesh versus spirit dichotomy, which is all over the place. But the most explicit place, of course, would be Romans 8, where flesh is bad, and then spirit is good. To put things in really simplistic terms. So what he says then is all three of those parts then are composed of flesh and spirit, which I think is
right.
which is very helpful. So your body, this is where it gets a little bit confusing because he doesn't mean like material by flesh. So it's just easiest to say spiritual versus unspiritual, perhaps. But all three parts, even your body, has a good component and a bad.
Which is the we're going to have spiritual bodies, which doesn't mean incorporeal bodies. It just means not sinful flesh bodies.
Exactly. Right. Yep.
Huh. That's good. That's great that you had an answer for that specific question. That's fantastic. Thanks, Josh.
I did record another podcast with somebody last week who asked me about why I cared so much about the holistic care of pastors, and so that was that was the first place I thought of. So I said the same exact thing a week ago.
Very nice.
It all connects. Yeah, the human body. You ever been in a cadaver lab?
No, I have not.
We were in one in college. It's quite the ordeal. Really makes you respect the creation. At least it should. Okay, cool. Well, we got our human body built. We got the thigh. Ooh, another thing about the thigh. This is the we're at the thigh. That's the priestly portion of the sacrifice. That's what he got to eat.
Huh. Interesting. It must. So the connection to procreation is operative here. I'm thinking about the ordeal in the case of a woman accused of adultery, and she's going to drink the bitter water, and if her thigh wastes away, then she's guilty, right? Which has to do with a uterine prolapse, right? This is like if her midsection is destroyed, then you know that she was unfaithful. The priest gets the thigh of the sacrifices. I wonder what exactly that, like, why does that? How would you gloss that? Priest gets the thigh because why?
Well, I mean, if you're just connecting it to the messianic seed,
okay,
I think that's probably the easiest connection.
Sure.
Yeah, and then Samson, who becomes a temporary priest, which is what a Nazirite is, a priest, for a limited period of time. Now, what's great about Samson is he's got a lifetime of a Nazirite vow, so his whole purpose in being a Nazirite is to die. That's when it's fulfilled, which is Christological. But when he's fighting the Philistines, he hits them all on the thigh. He just destroys them there.
Yeah, I was thinking about Psalm 69. The curse against the wicked is that they would be cut off, right? That they would would have no future. That their camp would be destroyed, right? So if you're going to strike somebody down, you can, of course, you can do violence to them, blotting them out of the book of the living. That's the true violence, right?
Yeah, that's really violent. Although, how would you feel if this guy Samson is just totally obliterating your entire camp with the jawbone of a donkey?
and making fun of you by telling little limericks about jawbones and heaps of a donkey. Right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah. I mean, it would be. I mean, it's infuriating. It totally makes sense. They're like, we got to get rid of this guy. We can't be dominated by such an erratic fool as Samson, right? Yeah.
He was not only an athlete; he was a poet.
Yeah.
A well-rounded individual.
Kind of like Andre the Giant in Princess Bride. You have a gift for rhyme.
That's right. Oh, that's so good. Now, do you think this servant is Eleazar? I've heard some speculation on that. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. What does Eliezer mean again? My help. The God is my help, right? Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think it makes sense.
So what's great is he gets denied from being the inheritor of Abraham, and then now he's got to go out and find the true heir, or at least the wife for the heir to continue the line. And by being so faithful in doing this, by not crushing Abraham's seed, where does he end up in the parable? In Abraham's bosom.
That's good. That's good. And he even runs interference for this question that Abraham kind of left open ended. But what if she won't come with me? I find the woman, but she won't come with me. He almost asks it expecting a negative answer, right? Surely you don't want me to take Isaac there, right? Because the promise is here in this land.
Oh yeah, that's good. Oh, speaking of that, this is my next question. You want to say a little bit about arranged marriage?
I'm for it. Uh,
Now
that's
let's do
go
this.
ahead.
I've got a 2 year old, and a 4 month old. You've got lots of boys. I'm expecting a dowry. Let's negotiate. What do you got to give me?
uh, let me talk to my wife about that. I don't know what's on the table right now for giving away, but it's not a Ferrari and it's not a Corvette. I'm so sorry.
Okay, that was going to be the asking price, but I'm willing to
Yeah,
negotiate.
well, my guess is you're going to have to settle. Not saying that your girls won't be a catch, but yeah, so I mean, this is interesting because, of course, we live in a day when all of the wrong standards are held and kind of elevated for marriage. In fact, I just had a conversation with somebody about the relevance of physical attraction in marriage, and it's kind of very difficult, especially for a fella, not to place a ton of weight on physical attraction, right? It's like, well, um, if I'm not like head over heels uh, uh, with feelings of attraction, physical attraction, does that mean that this won't go anywhere or this can't go anywhere? Which, of course, is misguided because although physical attraction is important, it's not everything, and in fact changes with time. It changes, if only because physical appearance changes with time, right? You know.
Yeah. So I think this fits into the whole broader conversation about the senses, where hearing is more important than eyesight. Because whenever you rely on your eyesight, it always goes bad. So Eve saw that the tree of knowledge was desirable for the eyes. Isaac, who we're talking about here, his eyesight starts to go bad. And so when he relies on that, and not on his ears, he's still relying on his eyesight, and then the touch with the furs, he is totally tripped up. And the eyesight is what makes him love Esau in the first place. That and his sense of taste. We'll get there, but it's really a recapitulation of the tree of knowledge. He wants it because it looks good to eat. That's why he wants Esau. Instead, he should have listened to what was told him. Obviously, your wife's got to look good, but it's more important that you're able to talk to her.
And this is what's prioritized by the servant here. It's not as though the arrangement of this marriage or any marriage that would be profitably arranged is devoid of like legitimate good criteria. So what's he interested in? I mean, when he lists his standards, it's essentially like she needs to be a good hostess. She needs to show hospitality and recognize her family and the Lord, who is the God of Abraham, right? And if those two things are in place, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, this would be an interesting thesis to test. Did you know that Roald Dahl, Roald Dahl, he was accused of misogyny because, and lots of other things too, but he was accused of misogyny because the villains in his stories were always ugly women. And but in one of the stories, I can't remember which one it is. There's a comment that's really it's insightful. And I'm not a huge Roald Dahl fan. I think he was a weird dude. But one of the comments was that like mean people become ugly, whereas kind people become beautiful. And he depicts this like with grotesque features. And I think there's something to that. There is that your physical appearance is connected to your psychology, your psyche, right? So if this woman is kind and compassionate to strangers and recognizes the Lord as her God, she's there. That's going to play out as well uh, in her attractiveness to Isaac, I would think.
Yeah, I think so. Let's talk about Roald Dahl for a second. So, um, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Is that good for you?
I've never read that book. I've read a whole bunch of his novels. Never read that one. I can't. I mean, I like Gene Wilder as much as the next guy, but that's a terrifying story to me. Terrifies me, actually.
Uh, because of the marketing ploy to get people to buy chocolate bars.
Because of the okay. So, and he does this in a lot of his books. The kind of sinister. You don't really know what happened to those children, where they disappeared to.
Oh,
Uh, that. It's. I mean, I can handle a little bit of it. I'm like, oh yeah, naughty children, watch out, kids. But he does it. He does it over the top. It's.
I thought you were about to go on a tirade about how the Oompa Loompas were, held without due diligence, and
He got in trouble for that one too. Yeah, right.
I have very fond memories of that book and watching that movie. My third grade teacher, his favorite author was Roald Dahl, so we got a good helping of James and the Giant Peach, Matilda, BFG. So I need to revisit them as an adult.
Did you ever read The Vicar of Nibblesthwaite?
No.
It's great. It's about a pastor who shows up at his congregation and he's dyslexic, and so uh, and so I mean the mistakes that he makes, for instance, mispronouncing the word park as crap or sip as piss. I mean, it's my kids think it's a hilarious book.
That does sound pretty funny. Do you remember the short story I wrote about the preacher who had Tourette's?
Yeah, yes, I do. That was a while ago.
That was a while ago. Now I need to go read this. So this is Dahl.
Yep. It's like the Vicar of Nibblesthwaite. I think just like it sounds. Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
Okay. See, when you said it, I thought you said the Vicar of Nipples. Wait.
No, I did not say that.
Which would be appropriate for this preacher who's got dyslexia. So
yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Okay, I can't wait. This is gonna be fun. Okay, now arranged marriage. One thing to point out though is that Rebecca has an option whether or not she wants to go with him.
Right.
So
yeah, that's good. That's critical, and I think that fits with ethics generally concerning marriage. Is that marriage is a matter of it's voluntary. It is not properly ever coerced. It would be an ungodly vow otherwise, right? From which you would be right to be released if you were coerced into it.
Right. So this would be proper annulment.
Yeah.
It's really a shame what the Pope has done with annulments.
Yeah. That and a lot of other things too. I mean, it is. It's. Yeah. Well, we should take that up another time. That's good. I'd like to hear more about that from you. But
I mean, it's a good business idea.
That's right.
Okay. Rebecca's virginity seems to be emphasized here in, where is this?
16.
First.
She's very attractive, a maiden whom no man had
Yes.
known.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would have been assumed. So back then, she's living with her dad and brother. I mean, it doesn't seem to be, Moses doesn't need to indicate this. But of course we know it's written there for a reason. And of course, I mean, I want to see you can go right away to the typology of the Christ coming from a virgin. So a few years ago now, a seminary professor got in some hot water because he said that it wasn't necessary for the Christ to be born of a virgin. It was just a feature that God decided to build in. Now, giving him the charitable explanation is he understood the prophecy of Isaiah and those kinds of things. So I think what he was saying is like, this is an absurd idea, but God didn't need to do it this way, but he chose to. But I think that kind of thinking is contrary to the whole Old Testament narrative of where the seed's going to come from and the corruption of man.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Our inability to produce godly offspring, like you can't, a man cannot do it. His seed is corrupted, so it has to come from somewhere else, right? Right.
Yeah, and this is really boggling to think about. In what way Jesus is the descendant of all these people, and then in the way that he's not the descendant of all
Yeah.
these people.
So fully human, that is to say, he has a complete human nature, but uncorrupted by sin, right? So, and that's where the philosophical categories, as they are utilized by the confessors, end up being helpful, because what do they say? Sin is an accident. That is to say, it's not a new thing that comes about in the fall into sin. It's not as though there's a pre-fall human nature that is substantively different from a post-fall human nature, but that sin so corrupts human nature that it bears no resemblance, or bears no what how do I want to say it, like essential resemblance to pre-fall human nature. It's like in all of these secondary ways it looks the same. It involves a intellectual faculty, it involves a body, and so on and so forth. But in terms of righteousness, the most important component of human nature is completely corrupted, right? So Jesus, essentially human without that corruption. He inherits his human nature from from all of these people, without the corruption of sin included. That's really a miracle. I mean, that is a remarkable thing, right? It's like, if all you've got is dirty water, how can you pour a clean cup of water? You know.
We did an experiment in 4th grade with charcoal, so that's the answer.
Okay.
Which, there's something biblical about that too, right? Charcoal to the lips, the coal. So that's how you do it.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a refiner's fire, right? It takes that.
Yeah. So here's the connection then, that Paul makes in 2 Corinthians 11 with virginity and passing on the seed and the devil. So verse 2 of 2 Corinthians 11, I feel a divine jealousy for you, since I betrothed you to one husband to present you as a pure virgin to Christ. But I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Eve by his cunning, your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere and pure devotion to Christ. So, I mean, Paul is making this connection that Eve was seduced by Satan. Of course, not in a literal sexual way, but she lost her innocence, and that's definitely a place, something that virginity is talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's this higher level category under which sexuality falls, like the sexual intimacy falls, and the higher category is union, right? Union of a body to a head, or of female to male, and I think that's great. So what is she doing when she listens to the serpent? She is not listening to Adam, thereby not listening to God, and the devotion of her ears to another head, right? Like to follow another head is it's adulterous, is what it is. Which, I mean, it's remarkable that can happen in this kind of like this higher level category, which may include, of course, sexual unfaithfulness. But we know this is a fact, right? That like husband and wife can be unfaithful to each other in a higher way than say mere sexual uncleanness, right? A man can be unfaithful to his bride by not serving as her head without ever cheating on her.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's a very simplistic way of looking at everything. It's like you're just checking the boxes.
Right.
Right. So it's like these guys are like, well, I've never cheated on my wife, but it's like, yeah, but you go to work, you go home, and then you sit down and watch TV and eat lasagna, and that's like all you do.
Yeah. Likewise, I mean, I think in the context of arranged marriages, this is significant. I mean, I cannot help but advise against marriages when the man has no intention of leading his wife to church, because so I mean, you can get married in a court of, in the courthouse, and it will be a marriage, but I can't sanction that marriage. I can't bless it with God's word and prayer, using the description of Ephesians 5, if from the outset you're not planning on fulfilling that, right? Which is like, for a Christian, is a fundamental kind of unfaithfulness. It's worse than cheating on your spouse to deprive them of the headship that would lead them to God's word. It's worse, right? And that's often the trade-off, isn't it? People imagine that their marriage is intact because they've not cheated on each other, but in order to like preserve whatever attraction or peace or harmony in their home, they have forsaken God's word as fundamental to their relationship, right? And so you end up with something that is that's a superficial or shallow, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what you're saying is, ladies, through you, the world continues to exist, right? As Paul says, right? Woman came from man, but since that, now every man has come from woman. I mean, it's this amazing symmetrical thing that God has set up. So all humans now pass through women. So be wise and prudent when selecting your husband.
Yeah, that no more significant advice could be given to an unmarried lady or man, for that matter, right? Exercise the utmost wisdom and prudence in choosing your spouse. Yeah.
Yeah. No, just speaking like how things are. I don't know if they've always been this way, but what's the term? Are you familiar with the term incel?
Yeah. Involuntary celibate.
Right. Yeah. So men are increasingly more depressed because they want to get married or have a girlfriend or whatever, and they can't. So just speaking for girls, if you want to get married, you're going to be able to, like statistically speaking, right? But it's not maybe the case for men anymore.
Yeah. Many men disqualify themselves by their behavior. There's that great book that Doug Wilson wrote, Be the Kind of Man, the Kind of Woman You Would Want to Marry, Would Want to Marry.
Yeah, that's
It
good.
it is I mean, it's true. Um, you will attract the kind of person that you uh, well, what's the way to put it? You will attract somebody, and you want to be behaving in such a way that you attract the kind of person you would want to marry.
Oh, that's good. Huh. You got
Yeah. So I mean, so so think about how similar Genesis 24 is to our current world. I mean, the fact is that if you're a Lutheran, like if you're a conservative confessional Lutheran, the pool is pretty small, right? And if you, I mean, generally speaking, by and large, if you're Lutheran, you should not marry somebody who's not a Lutheran. We'd have to talk about it real carefully, and catechizing would be the first part of it, and eventually they'd become a Lutheran. Otherwise, you should quit the relationship, right? So that's a small pool. That's a pretty small pool, and you see this play out. Like we're the beneficiaries of, for kids, things like I saw this with Wittenberg Academy. I was at their family retreat in April, and here are 250 people, probably 150 kids who are taking online classes from across the country, and Jocelyn Benson, who's one of the main teachers, one of the founders, along with her husband Justin, she orchestrated this English country dance, and it was great because here the kids are in a it's not club dancing, it's carefully choreographed. But she said something like, "Moms and dads, if you want to have grandchildren, get your boys out here because they need to learn how to be around girls." And it was great, and it was more apt, I think, than even was obvious at first glance, because the pool is small. Where are you gonna? If you're not gonna, you're gonna find it here, where all these Lutherans are gathered together, or maybe at a Lutheran college, or whatever it might be. But it's not everywhere. It's not just anywhere, right? And that's true in Genesis 24 as well.
So here's my proposition. All you boys and girls, you graduate from high school, come up to St. Cloud State. We're starting a matchmaking service, and by we I mean me.
I, I would entrust your matchmaking and people that I love to your matchmaking skills. I think that you would do a good job of that. Yeah, it's good.
Well, thank you. I've been endorsed by David Buchs for matchmaking, and
There you
I
go.
can die peacefully now.
Good. So Abraham's servant runs off to make this match. There's only one place to go, and it's among Abraham's family. He finds the young lady, and isn't this great? I mean, the talk about prosperity gospel or name it and claim it. He names it, and it and it happens exactly the way that he asked. It's so good.
Okay, so what are you gonna name that's gonna happen today?
I'll have to think about it more carefully. I mean, that's what's great about it is that his confidence gives him free reign to do it. He's like, this is outside. I can't figure this one out. I mean, he's essentially casting lots, is what he's doing. He's saying, here are the criteria that I'm aware of, and you're going to have to make that happen, Lord. So
Yeah, that's good. I think we're missing a good godly confidence. Of course, the danger is it turns into arrogance, which we would advise against. But I think I'd rather be on that side of the equation than just so gun shy that we never do anything.
yeah. I mean, the benefit of godly confidence is that, I mean, you have to own your failures, your missteps, or your failure, your neglect of reason. Like you don't have godly confidence when, like as the joke said, you're turning away the lifeboats while you're sitting on the roof of your house that's underwater. Right? That's not godly confidence. That's folly. But given honest to goodness dilemmas, where you don't have enough information or access to enough information to make a guaranteed decision, you do get to say, well, it's in the Lord's hands, and so therefore I'm confident. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Good. We should dive into Christian nationalism then at some point. Something you said made me think of we should dissect a recent debate. I think that would be fun. I don't know how many people
Yeah.
would be interested in it, but could be good. It could be good fodder.
Yeah, we could pull a few clips and discuss them. That'd be good.
Cool, man. We're just begging people come watch us and be outraged.
So that would be fun to know if we've outraged anybody so far. If anything we've said has triggered you, please let us know. We're trying to keep a tally, and it's been disappointing so far.
Well, this is the benefit of doing an hour of content is only people who care are watching.
It's true, yeah, and our moms. So
Thanks, Mom.
all right, we got places to go, things to
All right.
do, right? So
Yep.
I probably should hit stop.
See you next week.